This article is dedicated to the most talented clairvoyant astrologer I have ever met. She is the only person who has ever been able to read me. Her name is Helene Lipson. I was only able to spend time with her in the physical a few short days, but it was life-changing for me. It was this time 3 years ago, at the Return to Atlantis conference, and now it has come full circle. I tie this aspect together at the end of the article. Sadly, Helene passed away October 4, 2016, which was the first day of the conference 3 years ago. Everything has come full circle. It is also interesting to note that Hurricane Matthew's path is also coming full circle in the way it is heading. If you remember, we had sprites coming from Matthew which are similar to the gamma-ray burst that came from Ophiuchus the day Helene passed. It is all connected. I have wanted to write about Ophiuchus for quite a while now. But I felt fear because what I have to say about this sign has not been discussed before. Even after Ophiuchus made the news, I still continued to share my information with only 2 people. Then on October 4th, the same day that I published my last paper, there was a gamma-ray burst from Ophiuchus. I knew that was my sign to put on my big girl panties and write this paper. This will be another long and detailed article, and the information will not resonate with everyone who takes the time to read it. It will trigger many egos into cognitive dissonance. If you disagree with my article, that is fine, take what resonates and leave the rest. However, think before you quickly send me your responses. I know this is sensitive information, and if I trigger you then there is a deep reason for it, and it has nothing to do with me nor the information I am providing. Do you inner work and fix it. Phew. Okay, now that I have taken care of that aspect, let's get to it. NASA. I actually laughed out loud when I read that the agency that has claimed astrology to be fake had the audacity to say that we now have a 13th sign, and our astrology has changed. What? Really? However, there is a positive side to this. The very fact that the mainstream media is discussing astrology is amazing. They are feeling the effects of our 13th sign, and they can't avoid it. They have completely incorrect information, but that's okay. At least it is a start in the right direction. Instead of making fun of them, I applaud them for coming forward and discussing astrology. It will all work out in the end. Coming full circle. As always, everything that I write about is connected. Ophiuchus is connected to the 13th gate of the gods, our 13th cranial nerve, Oph, infinity, death, thrice great, etc. All of these I have written about. They all lead to our fabulous future and our ultimate goal. Our future is Ophiuchus. It is interesting that the English gematria for Ophiuchus is 720, which equals 9. We are in a 9 year, and 9 is the upper part of infinity that we have moved into. The other words in our language that share the same gematria equivalent of Ophiuchus are Prometheus, fire, and Mary Magdalene, water, which make up the AZOTH energy. I wasn't surprised to find those names, but the name equivalent I was shocked to see was the word double 13. So I thought about this, and when you write 1313, it all makes sense. This just blew me away. When you add 13 and 13 you get 8, which is infinity. However, I took this a step further. When you flip one of the 3s and connect it with the other one you have 8. The 1 represents the middle pillar running through our body. And that is the main channel in our bodies from which we operate. It shows us the narrow path, and it is vertical. Now with that being said, I will drop the information that most do not want to hear. Ophiuchus is not a sign that you are born under. Yes, you read that right. I know I popped many a bubble with that statement. Ophiuchus is an achievement, and it is not just handed to someone by birth. Right now only monks and yogis who have dedicated their lives to this achievement have attained it, and most are not out in the public. Ophiuchus is the thrice great level of attainment, and it is now open to all of us. This was not physically possible for the majority of the population. Our 13th cranial nerve was not open as it is now. This attainment is the return of the gods. I know we have all heard the phrase, "We are the ones we have been waiting for," and we all have heard that the gods are returning. Well, this is it. Yes, we are the ones in human bodies that will do this work and obtain the level of Ophiuchus. Thrice born or thrice great like Thoth and Hermes. What does this mean? Your first great accomplishment might not seem like much, but it is a big deal because you had to earn it. It wasn't just handed to you, and that was your physical birth when you came through the silver gate of men. That is your first birth, and it was no easy task. Your second birth was more difficult, and that involves creating the energy of Christ consciousness around your body, and then moving that energy into your heart. This is where humanity failed due to many reasons that I won't go into here, or my paper will be a book. So, like I explained in my last article, we were gifted with this energy when the Star of Bethlehem alignment occurred. One half of the job was done for us. The energy of Christ consciousness returned to this planet, and all people have to do now is balance the right, feminine side of the brain with the left, male side. Or, you can look at it as ego and spirit merging in the heart. This is taught in the science of the Merkaba or star tetrahedron. Ego, which is represented by the lower triangle, comes up to meet with spirit, which is represented by the upper triangle, in the heart. Ego up and spirit down. You can see the second accomplishment here in this diagram. There is a small serpent wearing a crown in the middle. Then notice the huge upward infinity symbol above it. How will you know if you have attained this crown? I can tell you my experience, and perhaps you can relate. I was unbalanced with bliss. When I say blissed out, I mean blissed out. I was drunk on bliss for 2 weeks. You would think that it is a wonderful experience, and it was. At first. But with all things there comes inner work. By the middle of the first week, I could no longer feel any anger or mean, rude, evil people in the world. To say this was uncomfortable is an understatement. It was downright hard. I could not feel judgment towards them at all. I was unbalanced, or so I thought. This is a necessary step in our energetic development. You have to feel this type of compassion for a period of time so that it becomes part of your central nervous system. Then you go back to your new normal. It was a hard time for me. I would think of mean people and try to be angry, and I couldn't. I would just cry and cry with deep compassion that I didn't understand. There was no turning it off. After 2 weeks it ended. And I felt balanced. My new normal is different. Rude or mean people, I see differently. I get angry at times, and that helps me make changes. But I no longer live in the anger. Now that the blissed out experience is in my heart, I can return there anytime I want. My teacher calls it our inner refuge. When the evil of the world is too much for me, I go within to my inner refuge of compassion, and from there I can see why they are the way they are. I hope this makes sense. It is something that you have to experience for yourself. I am sure many of you have. For me, it was fun and not fun at the same time. This is the first step. 99.9% of the population has not achieved this yet, which is why they are not ready for the energy of the 13th sign. Let's look at some mythology for a deeper understanding. Mythology. There is a lot of information about the legend of Ophiuchus that you can Google. I am going to touch on just a few. In legend, I learned Ophiuchus has 2 planets connected to it. One is like a volcano and the other a swamp, which is the balance of fire and water. It is the serpent holder with 2 hands on the serpent. The serpent is our Kundalini energy. One hand represents mastery over the physical body, first birth, and the second balance of the ego in the heart, Second birth. Each of the two serpents represents a level of attainment, with the 13th sign as the winged disc, the ultimate achievement. Ophiuchus the man is the god that has returned, and he represents mastery over his mind, third birth. He is fully liberated and commands his energy. He holds his Kundalini energy in his hands and directs it where he desires. Raising Kundalini is done several times, and it is only the beginning. Many feel it is a one-time and done thing. It's not their fault they think this. No one taught them differently. Ophiuchus is described in the astrological poem of Marcus Menelaus, the Astronomica, which is dated at around 10 AD. Here is my favorite excerpt. They will receive snakes into the folds of their flowing robes, and will exchange kisses with these poisonous monsters and suffer no harm. The poisons we can learn about are found in Buddhist teachings of the three poisons, which are anger, attachment and ignorance. Anger is self-explanatory. Attachment is when we can't live without our possessions, people and our labels or identities. Marcus also talks about being born under Ophiuchus, and this is where the trouble started. His words were taken literally, as in being physically born under this sign. The born under this is the thrice born and not a physical birth. This is why people get confused and try to stick poor Ophiuchus into our current zodiac, which is a pie chart. It makes the chart unbalanced. More on this later, as he is the odd man out and stands alone. Emerald Tablets and Kabbalah. Thoth, who is said to be Hermes thrice great, wrote the Emerald Tablets, and I found some interesting research. The 13th passage in the Emerald Tablets that Thoth wrote is titled, The Keys to Life and Death. It is not about our physical death but our spiritual ones. Essentially it is about the achievement of the 13th sign. He also talks about the gateway into this energy, which is AZOTH. The gateway is death in the Kabbalah, which is the secret Sephiroth. It has been secret for good reason. Humanity was not ready to step into the power of the gods. It requires too much humility, love and balance. Here is an excerpt from this 13th passage. Know ye the gateway to power is secret. Know ye the gateway to like is through death. Aye, through death, but not as ye know death, but a death that is life and is fire and is light. Not only is Thoth describing our passage through death into AZOTH, but as you read this passage it sounds like he is actually giving the physical coordinates to Ophiuchus. I didn't chase down that rabbit hole. I wrote an article about death and how it is the doorway to AZOTH energy, so I was thrilled to read that Thoth says the same thing. Power of Ophiuchus and AZOTH. We find in ancient writings that both Ophiuchus and AZOTH have the power to bring the dead back to life. This is not literal, since we are not dying a physical death. Each time you are born you begin a new life. Beginning with your physical birth here, then the Christ consciousness birth, and finally after you pass through death you complete the purpose of your third birth. After each rebirth a new life begins for you. Until this is completed you are considered dead at some level. We all are considered this way, depending on where you are on your path. Once we have fully mastered all three levels of birth, then we are fully liberated. Notice this passage is from John 3:3, I love numbers. Once you have fully attained this, you have the power of creation and destruction at your fingertips. You command the forces of both light and darkness. Neither one is better than the other, just different. You are just like Kali, who is both male and female in total balance, creator and destroyer. As I said earlier in the article, only monks and yogis have this power, and they are silent. There are many characteristics on the net that supposedly describe the Ophiuchus sign. Those that have it don't talk about it. If someone tells you they have achieved this level of attainment, then right there they have shown you who they really are. The masters of all three levels know the power and wisdom of silence because the world is still not ready. This is our future, and they are holding the space. Also, I feel when the time is right for our 13th sign to be fully implemented into our society, we will see actual physical signs of who has achieved thrice great. They won't need to say a word. These people are our future leaders. When will the world be ready? That is up to us and how quickly humans merge the Christ consciousness into their hearts, and then move into the basic AZOTH energy. From there we learn how to yield the power and control it responsibly. Then we are thrice great. It's a long road, but it is happening faster than I thought. I hope I see it in my lifetime. Not another piece of the pie. I could tell that our 13th sign will be part of our zodiac and it is our future, but how will it look in the current chart? Well, it can't just fit into our current pie chart. Right now each sign has an opposite, and this is crucial right now. The 4 fixed signs are currently running the show for us. They are the 4 horses of the apocalypse. I am getting info on this, but it is too soon to go into. If our 13th sign is squeezed into our current chart, then our 4 fixed signs will no longer be opposite, and this is a big deal right now. I wanted to know what the new chart looked like, and I was surprised at what I saw. At first, I saw concentric circles with Grand Ophiuchus in the middle. He is the center circle, and he is the center of the Milky Way too, which makes sense. This is our future. We are returning home and beginning anew. Atlantis is said to have been made in concentric circles. I don't know if this is literal in the physical sense, but it is on the energetic. This brings me to an amazing point on my personal journey that I am going to share. 3 years ago, there is the 3 in 13. Today, I was with some amazing friends at the Return to Atlantis conference in 2013. There is the 13 that brings us full circle. We were on Lido Key in Florida, which is a crystal sands beach. It is the actual remnant of Atlantis in our Atlantic region. The attendants opened a closed portal during our time there and completed some amazing energy work. My experiences were mind-blowing. So it is no surprise that I would see our 13th sign in our zodiac as the concentric circles of Atlantis. It is our new future. And some of the work was done at the conference in preparation for this. Our shining star Helene passed on what was the first day of the conference. She brought this full circle for us so we would remember. Those of us that attended have been having a nice reunion online. We haven't connected very much since the conference, but Helene's passing brought some of us together in her memory. She wanted us to remember the great work we did there, and see how it has come full circle. Helene Lipson was one of the creators of this amazing event. She knew the purpose and was amazed at all the work we did. She passed away 2 days ago on October 4, 2016. She was a brilliant clairvoyant astrologer. No one did chart readings like she did. I can feel her with me as I write this. She inspired me to do what I am currently doing. She told me in 2013 at the conference that I would go public, write articles and even be on the radio. I told her she was nuts. I was way too shy for that, and we both laughed. Well, Helene, you were right, and this article on our 13th sign is dedicated to you. This is why we are the ones we have been waiting for. We are the return of the gods. We are trying to become the great Ophiuchus. I am tired of waiting, and I am doing. Free your mind, balance your ego, stay healthy and humble, then the rest will follow. Lisa.
The link Lisa mentions in the article can be found down in the description box.